He started a rivalry with the Kaaba and built a beautiful church in front of it, adorned with gold and marble, and placed it for visitors. When Abraha learned that someone had desecrated the floor of this church under Masi's feet, he became furious and said, "Prepare a great army because we will destroy the Kaaba up them." When the people heard about Abraha's attack on the Kaaba, they abandoned their homes and sought refuge in the mountains. Abraha looked that saw flock of birds moving toward the Kaaba and seemingly carrying pieces of fire in their claws and beaks. Yes, dear friends, today we will talk about the people of the elephant. But before that, please subscribe to the channel and invite your friends to this series of programs. Ahsanul Qasas. Dear friends, in 570 AD, Abraha built a beautiful church in Yemen. Abraha is the vassal ruler of the Najashi, who, after the rule of the Christians, governed this geographical region of Yemen. When he built this church, he sent a letter to the Najashi, the king of Habasha. And to please the Najashi, he informs him about the shape, appearance, and the efforts he has endured in its construction. The church that Abraha built consumed a significant amount of gold, as we read in various historical books and the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It is said that Abraha constructed this church to attract trade caravans after he learned that there was a house in the Arabian Peninsula in Mecca, which pilgrims traveled to visit. It became a trade route where people spent large amounts of money to reach and visit it, as well as to spend their wealth there. Therefore, Abraha took action in building this church. But contrary to his expectations, the Kaaba has great historical significance. Allah Almighty has regarded the existence of the Kaaba in the Quran as a source of unity among different tribes. Additionally, the winter and summer journeys undertaken by trading caravans from Yemen and Syria were significant. People were pleased with the existence of such a house, also visiting it even before the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This house was surrounded by various idols, as you can read in history, with 360 idols encircling it, and the true lines of monotheism had faded. Nonetheless, people had a profound attachment to it. After the construction of the church mentioned in history by Al-Khalis, Abraha realized that people were not paying much attention to it. When the Arabs discovered that Abraha had built a house in Yemen and a church with images of Isa and his mother Maryam painted on it, and that he had installed idols of Christ there, they invited people to worship there, which fueled the anger of the Arabs. Among those who were upset was a man from Canaan or Canaanite tribe. He traveled to Yemen to reach himself to church. Upon arrival, he entered the church, noticing that the presence of people was dwindling and making the church seem empty. At the bottom of the statue, which was actually made of Isa Masih, he expresses his impurity and filth. After that, he leaving the church. News reached Abraha that someone had entered the Al-Khalis or this church and defiled it. And importantly, this individual had traveled and entered in this church from the Arabian Peninsula, specifically from Mecca. Abraha became furious and immediately declared war, stating that he would not rest a moment until he had destroyed the Kaaba and its people. Thus, he set off with a large army and several elephants toward Mecca. On the way, before reaching the Kaaba, some tribal leaders gather an army against Abraha because they learn that Abraha, along with a number of his companions and elephants, has set out to destroy the Kaaba. Initially, a man named Zu Nafer gathers his people and the tribal leaders and saying, "By Allah, your honor and dignity are tied to the Kaaba. If the Kaaba is destroyed today, the honor and dignity of the Arabs will be lost." Thus, they gather an army. However, this army, which is small in number, seems insignificant against the thousands in Abraha's force. In the first encounter, Abraha defeats Zu Nafer, capturing him and killing many. The moment when he is about to strike the sword on the neck of Zu Nafer, he says, "O Abraha, killing me will bring you no benefit. It would be better for you to have me by your side, as my presence with you is more advantageous than killing me." Abraha decides against killing him, and Zu Nafer joins him on the way to Mecca. Before they reach the Kaaba, Another man named Nufail ibn Habib has gathered a force to oppose Abraha. However, since their number is limited and Abraha has a large army, Nufail is captured in the first encounter. When Abraha attempts to strike the sword on the neck of him, Nufail says, "Killing me will gain you nothing. Let me guide you and show you the path and way to the Kaaba." Thus, Abraha refrains from killing him. He continues until he reaches Saqif, where he encounters a man named Masud ibn Muta'ab. A confrontation or a conflict formed. Masud is also captured by Abraha. Also, Abraha continues on his way until he reaches near Mecca. On the way, he encounters 200 camels, perhaps that apparently belong to Abdul Muttalib. It is also mentioned in the books of Sirat that these properties and these camels actually belong to the people of Mecca, and Abraha has taken them. News reaches to Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abdul Manaf, and people gather around him. Many suggest to Abdul Muttalib that we should fight against Abraha. Some say it is enough that our camels be freed from Abraha's grasp. Then a man named Kanata al-Homiri comes to Abdul Muttalib and requests that Abraha wants to see him. Abdul Muttalib goes to see Abraha. When Abraha looks at the countenance of Abdul Muttalib, it seems that a tremendous fear, personality, and dignity towards Abdul Muttalib are actually found in his heart. But when Abdul Muttalib begins to speak with Abraha, he says, "Are you aware of why I am here? I want to destroy the Kaaba." Abdul Muttalib replies, said, "The Kaaba has a lord. I came to ask you to return the 200 camels you have taken." Abraha is astonished and says, "Oh my, I thought you were the leader of the Quraysh and had come to announce day of war. Well, give him back his camels." Abdul Muttalib takes the camels and says to Abraha, "Do not forget that I was the owner of these camels, and I take them back and I protected them. But the Kaaba also has a Lord who will protect it." Abdul Muttalib then returns to Mecca. He instructs the people to leave their neighborhoods and homes and seek refuge in the mountains and caves. The people of Mecca all leave their homes and take refuge on the mountains surrounding the Kaaba. This is because Abdul Muttalib has warned them that no one can stand against Abraha's great army. Then Abdul Muttalib himself strikes the Kaaba's door firmly and says, "O Lord, protect this house. O Lord, do not let the most honored place be reduced to dust." He continues to strike the door of Kaaba until he realizes that Abraha has arrived near the Kaaba. Abraha has brought with him a massive elephant that he putted the name of Mahmud on it. As soon as the elephant sees the Kaaba, it immediately sits down. It collapses to the ground, and they try to raise it with ropes and spears, using whatever they had. However, the elephant does not get up unless it is turned towards Yemen or Sham. Then it stands up from its place. But when it is turned towards the Kaaba and Mecca, it immediately sits down and does not rise. While they are trying to lift the elephant, suddenly from the sea, a cloud appears moving rapidly towards the Kaaba. When Abdul Muttalib sees this black cloud, he says, "This cloud seems to bring destruction to this army." It moves so quickly towards the Kaaba that Abdul Muttalib soon realizes it is not a cloud. This is a flock of birds known as ababil that each carrying 3 stones, 2 stones in their claws and 1 stone in their beaks. The stones, as explained in interpretations, were actually masses of fire or pieces of fire aimed at each individual. This means that each stone had a specific target. Even some interpreters have also mentioned this. On each stone, the name of the person who was to be destroyed by it was written. Then the ababil birds circle around the Kaaba and begin to throw these stones. All of Abraha's army is annihilated. Abraha, having suffered severe injuries, manages to reach Yemen. After a few days, he dies in the worst and most horrific manner. Pay attention to Surah Al-Fil.
ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل؟
Have you not seen what your Lord did to the elephant riders? What action did he take?
ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل؟
Did he not nullify their deceit and trickery that they had devised against the Kaaba to destroy it? Did he not thwart their plan, or invalidate it, and render it useless?
وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل.
Did he not send the flocks of ababil birds? Indeed, I sent the flocks of ababil birds.
ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل.
Birds that carried with them clay stones. those clay stones that perhaps were apparently heated in the fires of hell.
فجعلهم كعصف مأكول.
Thus, this army was made like leaves that are withered, or like plants, or like straw that has been eaten and trampled by animals. This army was arranged by Allah the Almighty in such a manner. Dear friends, this event greatly emphasizes the significance of the Kaaba in the hearts of all people. Moreover, after this event, people even set their historical reference point from this very year when they wanted to record or share historical events. They would say, in such a year, or 2 years after the year of the elephant, or 3 years before the year of the elephant, this contract or this treaty was signed, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was also born in this year. And the message that Allah Almighty gives to humanity: the Lord who protected this house today will also protect his Prophet tomorrow. Dear friends, this was the story of Abraha and his army. Please write in the comments about which prophet or event you would like the next story to be about. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends.